should I say the notorious Bible geek. I wanted to clarify something in case it isn't already clear. People have sometimes said they view me as kind of an enemy of the Bible, a persecutor of the Bible, and so on. And I understand why, because what I say, though not intended to be threatening, nonetheless does threaten their too comfortable assumptions about the Bible. But let me, on the one hand, distinguish myself from what they think I am, namely a kind of superficial village atheist. There are plenty of people like that who are just trying to poke holes in the Bible and show, look at this, a mistake here, look at this, a contradiction there. I understand what they're doing. They're doing what Ingersoll did in The Mistakes of Moses. He said, look, it's important to show that the Bible is not the weapon that its wielders think it is, that it can just tell you what to do, which you may want it to do. You may want it to be the answer book to save you from thinking. Don't mean to say people like that are lazy, but they're afraid because they've been told that one day they're going to take a theology final. And that God is going to look at the essay book and say, ooh, sorry, there's only 3 persons in the Trinity, and he hits the button and you go down the chute into the inferno, and which is a weird way of looking at God, the irate professor view. And so naturally they're afraid of getting anything wrong. I understand that. But it does them a service if only they knew it, to say that you can't be browbeaten with this thing anymore. Of course, it's really a ventriloquist dummy from dogmatic preachers and politicians. Hey, this isn't my view, it's God's view, so you better go with it. Well, it's important to puncture that balloon. The Bible is not infallible and inerrant and so on. In fact, it almost wouldn't matter if it were, as long as it's still ambiguous. I mean, an ambiguous Bible is just as useless as an error-ridden Bible. But the thing is, these people see it, the village atheists see it just as a service to point out that the fundamentalist view is wrong. It's superstitious and it's dangerous. Okay, I understand that. I think that's a good approach to take. But that's where their interest ends. They're just trying to destroy it. So am I doing that? Well, in one sense, but I don't stop there. I'm not only interested in combating a false and childish view of the Bible. Even when I shouldn't say that. When I was a fundamentalist, it instilled in me an insatiable curiosity to understand the Bible better. I was interested in the whole Bible, not just a handful of proof texts. You ever heard of the Roman Road to Salvation? These like 4 or 5 passages from the letter to the Romans, and this will show you how to get saved and all that. Well, there's a whole lot more Bible than that. And so it arouses in you this curiosity. I mean, this book is supposed to be so special. I want to know what it says. And even beyond I need to know what it says so I can go to heaven, it's like I want to know what it says. These odd puzzles. I mean, nobody denies that there are plenty of puzzles in the Bible where you just don't quite get. I like to refer to the Psalms, where they're talking about the king this, the king that, the dragon, Leviathan, and what the heck is this? Most people don't care because it's just like they may not be interested in astronomy or something. But the more you're a Bible fan, the more you want to understand every last bit of it you can, just because it's the Bible. And I found that once I did that and delved into it more, there's great satisfaction in solving these problems. I think of a couple of incidents from teaching Once at a college here in Eastern North Carolina, James Sprunt Community College. I mean, nothing against the school, but even a name like that makes you think this is out of the. Strangely, on an episode of Tim and Eric, this guy says that he went to James Sprunt Community College. Holy mackerel, it does exist. And this older woman in the class was. We were talking about, I guess, the flood stories or creation account or something. And I was going into this sort of deeper stuff that the critical approach to the Bible unveils, and stuff that she never possibly could have heard of from the pulpit. And it's no surprise. I mean, you're not going to preach that stuff. But she said, why have I never heard of any of this? And I said, well, quite likely the pastor just never heard of it. He was really it's more of a vocational thing, going to seminary. But then also, if they do know about it, they know they may be in trouble for rocking the boat, because some of this sounds so strange. Another little incident from back then, teaching at Mount Olive College, I was explaining how there's about 3 different versions of creation in the Bible, and the least known is where God kills a dragon and creates the world from its carcass and becomes king of the gods. A story shared with the Babylonians with Marduk and all this. Well, one student went home and told her dad, who I think was a pastor himself, that I had taught the class that this was true, that God had created the world from the guts of a dragon. And so we had a meeting with the president of my school, who's a very broad-minded man. He's an evangelical, but he was very open, and it was actually simple. I said, I didn't say this is what happened. I was describing something that the ancients believed, and I mean, it'd be absurd and crazy to think for us that this happened. So pastors know good and well, if they got into any of this stuff, they'd get the same reaction. It would just shock people, and what's the point of that? So yeah, I told her, I'm not too surprised you never did hear about it. And it's at least controversial, and God is not the author of confusion. So, but the thing is, I see myself not as someone who attacks the Bible, but someone who defends it, strange as it may sound, because I am promoting a more thorough understanding of it with tools and data that most Bible lovers haven't the faintest idea even exists. They'll say boy, I wish we could straighten this one out. How did the heavenly voice at the Jordan say to Jesus, both you are my beloved son and this is my beloved son? Which one did he say? I've heard people say, oh, well, I guess once we get to heaven, we'll find out all that stuff. So you mean there's going to be a big Bible seminar in heaven with some professorial angel who's going to say, okay, I know you were. It's like a Saturday Night Live skit. This guy shows up dead at the pearly gates, and he asks the angel there, could you tell me now the most amazing thing that I would never have guessed? And the angel says, well, even now I can't do that because it will just blow your mind. But let's see, and so would this and that. How about the 273rd most shocking thing? He says, okay. And he says, wrestling is real. And that's it. Well, that's going to happen when we get to heaven. Okay, problem number 1. It's going to take a long time. Well, my good news to people is you don't have to wait till you get to heaven if you get to heaven. I can tell you the answers to most of these things right now. And you may not like the answer, but, plenty of things to offend you, even in the Bible, even if you're a Bible believer. Give away all your possessions, and so on. So you shouldn't be afraid of being affronted by the Bible. So whose approach makes more sense? The one you hear in church that really just has to be content with insoluble problems and shoves it off to the afterlife? Or the one, in fact, an approach that makes problems, right? Geez, this says this in passage A, but that in passage B, but both are the Word of God, so they have to both be true, but they don't seem to be in agreement. Your doctrine creates problems, and so my approach solves the problems, and I don't mean mine uniquely, I mean the whole critical enterprise. I think the approach is superior, that can make sense of the text. I don't see that there's anything more pious than understanding the text. It may not help you live a better Christian life, but of course most of the stuff in the Bible wouldn't anyway, no matter what you believed about it. Oh, you mean Bezalel was the guy that built the Ark of the Covenant? Who cares, right? Unless you just love the Bible for its own sake. And so I try to say to people, I love the Bible. That's why I got into this, and I grant you it's made it impossible for me to believe the Bible. But that's sort of childish. It's like it's time to put away childish things. It's like you as a Christian, you don't mind your kids thinking Christmas is all about Santa Claus and Easter is all about the Easter Bunny, but you assume that eventually they'll be able to look at it in a deeper and more adult way. Well, I'm saying the Bible is that way, that it's not about talking donkeys and talking snakes. It's not about a guy making the sun stand still in the sky, even if the ancients believed that. But there's you got to start asking, well, what is this story getting at? Did Jonah get swallowed by a whale? Probably not, but what's the story doing in there? And you can pretty easily explain there's a very profound lesson taught there that you're not even going to be aware of if you think it's all about whether a guy survived being digested by a whale. So you got to put away childish things. There is a commercial for this replica of Noah's Ark, which I find just unwittingly hilarious. This family of giraffes is thinking of going, and the adolescent girl giraffe is trying to convince her dad to go see it. Okay, finally, and then he's so amazed at how big it is that he faints. Yeah, now that's just what you want. You want to increase people's belief in Noah's Ark by having a bunch of talking animals pushing the thing. It shows it's all on the same level in a way. Is that the level at which, another one, I cringe at this every time. They say it's time to settle back and relax and listen to a bedtime story from the Bible. What? I mean, the Bible is now a soporific. The Bible is like Unisom or melatonin or something. No, that's not the idea of the Bible. You're just, it's like you've checked into the faculty parking lot. You're going to park your faculties outside. Because of the Bible? I don't think so. I mean, Christian or non-Christian, that cannot be right. So I say, if you may have to make the same choice, you may come to the same fork in the road, that, now that I know about the Bible, I see how inappropriate the dogmatic approach to it is. It's like saying, well, the Bible is blue. Huh? Well, how does that category apply? And it's like saying when you say the Bible is inspired and inerrant, I don't even know what that means once you start reckoning with what the Bible actually says. Another thing, a way this solves problems, there are things that are very embarrassing and even scandalous if the Bible is God-breathed or in effect dictated. You say that, now this is the rule of faith and practice. Moses says, go ahead and kill all these guys and take their virgin daughters for your own. What? The stuff about selling your children into slavery and commands to genocidal warfare. These are big problems if you're saying that this is the God-inspired standard for morality. If it's not, if you say, well, this is a Bronze Age document, when the values were different, like Lot and his daughters. Lot's supposed to be the good guy by trying to protect his visitors by tossing his virgin daughters into the hands of a drooling mob. But those are not our values, and they're not going to become our values. But once you realize this is a completely different culture, hospitality was the main virtue more than the rest of this. Well, this isn't a problem in the sense, because you don't have to get God off the hook. What's embarrassing is that a righteous God would be telling you these things as examples and so on. How much more do you need to realize, as my favorite theologian Bugs Bunny says, I made a wrong turn in Albuquerque. If you end up having to say this, surely you realize it's time to go back to the drawing board. And that's what I'm trying to do, because though I no longer have religious faith, though I respect those who do, it's fine with me, I just feel like I want to understand this book, and I chafe at it when people who think they believe in it and support it are making a laughing stock of it and of themselves. Let me just finish this up with an analogy. I read that there are some people in rural Greece who still believe in the Greek gods, Zeus and Apollo and so forth. Well, imagine there were a whole lot of them with a whole lot of money behind them, and they're telling everybody, sending out missionaries, said, you got to believe in Zeus and Achilles and Apollo and so forth, or you're going to Tartarus. Because all this stuff really happened, and you better believe it. If I oppose that, it's not because, suppose I'm a classics professor, that would really get me mad. Why? Because I hate the Iliad, the Odyssey, and all that stuff. No, because I love them. I don't want to see them abused like this. And so, yeah, I don't have religious faith, but I do have faith in the truth and love for the Bible. So I am the friend and champion of the Bible. It's just that I've given up the straitjacket of the Bible being inspired and inerrant. So do you want to know as much as you can know about the Bible, or do you just want the Bible to be Linus's security blanket? I'm sticking with knowing as much as I can about it.